In this video, I'm going to show you how to decorate this baptism cake. Hi, it's Karolyn. If you want to learn how to bake and decorate amazing cakes, then I would love for you to join me by hitting subscribe and the bell. Just a quick note, if you want to just skip the intro and get right into the video, there are chapters linked below. This week I am decorating a baptism cake for one of my friends, and she actually asked for, I'm going to put the picture over here. She said she wanted something similar to this, except I'm doing 3 tiers, but she said I could modify the design as needed. So that bottom tier is covered in fondant, and I didn't want to cover the cake in fondant, so I'm going to do it a little different. And just a note that I am starting off with all 3 tiers iced in American buttercream. I have videos showing you how I do that, and I will link it below. Also how I make my icing, and just look below in the description. A bunch of videos will be referenced, so you can go into further detail. I can't talk this morning, but everything will be linked below. So let's get into the video. All right, I have purple fondant here to start. It is always mixed with Tylose powder. I put Tylose powder in all of my fondant. I'm going to roll out the border. So let's roll this into a log, get some cornstarch down, press it down to flatten it out. And then I just want to roll it a little wide before I roll it long. And using a little needle tool to poke any bubbles that form. I have my ribbon cutter, and I'm just going to make the ribbon however wide I want it, cut a ribbon out, smooth the edges, get my cake out of the fridge. I'm using the back of a paintbrush to mark an arrow so I know it's a front, and the icing is solid. I'm not going to mess this up. I'm cleaning up the cake board with a wet paper towel. I have some piping gel, and I'm going to go to the back of the cake and put a little piping gel where the ribbon is going to connect, and then I like to use some shortening around the rest of the perimeter. The shortening is more forgiving, and then I can get the ribbon in place. And let's start at the back and wrap the ribbon around the entire cake. Where it meets in the back, just cut with an X-Acto knife and press the seam together. And just using my fingers to push it against the cake and use a palette knife to press it down. I want to make sure that the ribbon is even. Now I want to make the circle, so I have some white marshmallow fondant. This didn't have enough Tylose in here, so I'm adding a little bit more. And I'm just going to set that aside for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and let it solidify. Right now, I just want to measure the side of the cake where I'm putting the writing, so I know that I print out the words as big and as wide as I need them to be. Put that back in the fridge. Now this fondant is ready to use, so get some cornstarch down, and let's roll this out pretty thin so I can cut a bunch of circles out. I have my circle cutter, and I'm just going to see, is this one a good size? I'm doing 2 circles, one on top of each other. That one was too big, so I'm going to use the other one. I have a cake box lid. I save my cake box lids so I can put decorations like this on here. You can see how thin the circle is. And I'm just going to keep going around and cutting circles out of this entire piece of fondant. Now I have my cake out of the fridge. I have some water. Get a little bit of water. You can use Crisco on the back. You can use piping gel, whatever you want, and stick the circle down. And I'm sticking this circle down, and look, now it doesn't come to the top of the cake. Darn it. Now I have to fix this. So instead of recutting the circles, I'm going to fix the ribbon. So let's put the circles up and remove that ribbon. And measure how big the space is and put my ribbon cutter together, make sure that is the right size, and get a little bit more piping gel back there. Now let's put the bigger ribbon down. And that's the perfect size. So you can see it doesn't always work out perfectly, but I could fix it. And now I'm going to put circles around the whole thing. So I'm starting in the very front of the cake, and then I go back from side to side. So I go down the right side, I go down the left side until it meets in the back. That way, you know that the very front of the cake is going to be even. Now where we get to the back, I'm just cutting a little piece off so it fits. And this is why we have the back of the cake. I have some dragées here. I can find them and link them below. I like to get a little bit of piping gel on the lid, sprinkle some on. This can be a little tedious. Use some tweezers and just put them in all of the intersections. I know they have a dragée gun. If you've ever used that with success, let me know. Put that back in the fridge. Now getting this cake out of the fridge, and I am going to do the writing on this. I have my Dresden tool, one of my favorite tools. This font, I printed it out the size that I needed, and I'm going to press this against the cake. The icing is solid. I am not going to mess this up. I must do this on a cold cake. I'm using the curved part of my Dresden tool, and I place the paper evenly on the cake so the words weren't going down on a slant or anything, and now I am just lightly pressing to transfer these letters onto the icing. Peel it back and you can kind of see the letters on there. Let's put that back in the fridge. And now I am making the little balls that are going to be the cross, so just ripping off little pieces of fondant and trying to roll them into the same size. I think I needed like 11 of them. Now got this cake out of the fridge and we're going to pipe. So I have my icing tip number 3 in the icing bag, and I'm going to pipe these letters on the cake, resting my arm, look at that bicep, resting my elbow on the counter, supporting my wrist with my other hand. And piping is just a pain in the butt. So I have a paper towel that I can keep wiping the tip off. And hold your breath. Your heart is going to race and it's going to be difficult and you're going to try not to be shaky. But it works. So you can trace the lines that you made. At least you have lines to trace. I cannot freehand my letters, so I have to do a method like this to be able to get lettering on a cake. And now I just messed up that part. There was a little air bubble in there, so let me just remove that and start all over. You see how I'm stopping at little intersections and then continuing? Sometimes it's easier that way. You could take a little break. And whenever I'm done, I take a paintbrush dipped in some water, and whenever I'm done piping, I like to just get rid of the points. Like these points form when you lift the bag up off of the letters, and I just like to make it look nice and pretty. So now I'm stacking the cake. I have a full stacking tutorial, which I will link in the description, but I'm getting the length of my straws and cutting the straws, putting them in the cake. Make sure it's level. Get some buttercream on top. And then stack the next tier on. That tier is right out of the refrigerator and it is solid. I'm not going to mess it up. And repeat the process. Make sure it's even. And put my straws in the other tier. I am out of frame, but oh well, it is what it is. I'm doweling this cake, but that you'll be able to see that in my stacking video, how I dowel a cake. I had a little pock mark there that I want to patch shut with some icing so I don't have that hole there anymore. Now I'm going to put the borders on, so get a little bit of piping gel in the back like I did and Crisco around the rest of the cake. All right, I want to put the little cross on the cake, so I'm getting a little bit of piping gel on the back of each of the balls, making sure that it's facing the front of the cake. And it doesn't look perfect, but I'm going to get these in the correct position. So when I put them on the cake, I didn't press down too hard. That way I can move them if needed. And then on the third one from the top, I build the rest of the cross out. Now I'm putting little dragées in the intersections, so I'm dipping them in piping gel like I did before and putting them on the cake with tweezers. All right, now I'm making the bow. I make bows weird, but I have a tutorial showing you how I make bows, and I will link that in the description below. So I just want to roll out the fondant as thin as I can, and this fondant does have Tylose powder mixed in. So I'm cutting a piece off, and then I lay that on top and make sure it's about the same size. Cutting both sides off, I lift the piece off because it starts to stick to the other one. Lay it back down and start down, go up, curve up, and then go back down and try to meet where you started on the other side. It's very confusing. My tutorial goes into more detail about this. So get a little bit of water on the back and fold it up and then down. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. And now that's a little too long. Let me trim that with my X-Acto knife. Push it together. Perfect. Now I just want to get a little strip, and I like to fold the edges down. I just feel like it looks a lot neater, so I'm going to do that on both sides. And this is a little too long, so I'm going to cut a little piece off, get some water on the back. Oh, get some water in the middle, and then on the back of that strip, and wrap it around the center. Now I'm going to do the sides of the ribbon, or the tails. So I'm cutting a strip, cut it in half, and then I just want to use my X-Acto knife to cut the little points on the ends of both. And they'll go on the sides like that. So let's put them on the cake. Get a little bit of piping gel behind the bow, center it. I want that facing front. And I'm using my handle from that paintbrush to try to open the loops a little bit and press it. I'm going to keep moving this into place, so I'm going to work with it a little bit. And then on that one side, I want to be able to move this once I get it into place. So I'm going to use a little bit of shortening rather than piping gel, because shortening is more forgiving. Lift up that little loop and kind of stick that piece behind it and give it a little motion, bend it in. You know, it just looks a lot better when it has motion, when it moves. Do the same thing for the other side, getting some shortening on the back. Now I'm just getting some piping gel behind the pieces that are hanging off of the cake now that the bow is in place. And look, I'm using the handle to try to open the loops. Get a little more piping gel where I want it to stick. How pretty. Now I'm measuring the ribbon. Use the lid to press the foil against the cake board and get some glue around the outside, glue on the back of the ribbon, and a little more where it overlaps, and press it against the cake. And we're done. So there you go. How adorable is this little baptism cake? And you can see as I'm making cakes, things don't always turn out perfect. Like that ribbon was a little off. So sometimes I just figure out how to decorate things as I'm working on them. But that's what it's all about, right? So the size of these tiers is a 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch. And it feeds about 40 to 45 people. And I will link also in the description the video on how I make bows. I know I do bows a weird way, and it just is what it is, but that's how that's my easiest way to do it. So I will link in the description a video which will show you in more detail how I do the bows. And also, this does look a little plain. What you could do is add a topper on there, like one of those cardboard cutout or acrylic toppers, or a sugar flower, or you can actually do real flowers as well. So I think that's it. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. And you can follow me on socials and check out my website. It's listed in the description below as well. And if you want to stick around, you can watch these 2 videos next and hit subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Please like this video if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. And remember, it's cake. Have fun. I will see you on the next one. Bye.